Welcome to the Concrete Hood Podcast, where we delve into the real stories and experiences of those living in urban communities across this country. From the grit and grind of inner city life to the inspiring stories of individuals overcoming adversity, we explore the diverse cultures, struggles, and triumphs of the people who call these communities home. Join us as we speak with community leaders, artists, activists, and everyday people who are making a difference in their neighborhoods. We'll discuss the social and political issues that impact our communities and highlight the positive initiatives and programs that are changing lives. So, whether you're from the city or the suburbs, we invite you to join us on this journey as we navigate the concrete hood together. Polo, introduce yourself and let folks know who you are and where you come from.
Appreciate that, Angelo. Uh, well, I'm Polo, man. I'm from Chicago. I appreciate y'all tuning in to Concrete Hood Podcast. This is a podcast we started to get shine a little light on Chicago, man. A lot of Chicagoans, we from Chicago to LA. I'm saying we really all around the world, man, but our production and our arms reach as far as Chicago to LA. Of course, I'm born in California. You know what I'm saying? Inglewood, born at Cincinnati Hospital. But was raised in Chicago. That's all I really know is Chicago. I know Chicago like the back of my hands. I know LA too, though. I love LA, to live and die there. I understood what Pop was talking about when he said what he said. You know what I'm saying? But I'm a real Chicagoan by heart, so it's a different type of thing for me, man. This city here, man, this is where all my blood, sweat, and tears is. So, you know, I got a lot to say about this place right here, And but I love this place, man. It's a beautiful town. We got beautiful people here. It's just like any other city, any other state, man. It has its pros and its cons, but for the most part, man, a place like Chicago, man, it really is like it's the type of town where as long as really you minding your business, you're gonna last long here. I guarantee that. You know, man, all the struggle, man, anything that you can just about imagine here in this place right here, man, I witnessed it. The good, the bad, the evil, and the indifferent.
And,
But man, it's still a place that I've always called home. You know what I'm
and I
saying?
th- and
So
and I think over the podcast we're going to get into some of those and a lot of those stories, and we're going to give the people who are watching and viewing an opportunity to get to know you before anything, because I think at some point we plan on having stories from various cats from the streets who can tell this story. You being one of them, and also having a connection to folks, to get them to come on the podcast. But what are your goals with this podcast? Like, what do you hope to accomplish, and how do you think that's going to set you apart from a sea of podcasts that are already out there?
well, uh, the specific goal for me is, and this is just to be real specific, is to shine a lot of light on the good that's really going on in this town. There's a lot of speculation and a lot of stereotype that goes on when it comes to Chicago. I've been here. I've been here since I was 5 years old. I was born in 1984, so I got here about 1989, and I've always been back and forth from here to California. Visiting you, visiting my pops, visiting my auntie. So I've always been back and forth my entire life, basically. So we know a lot about LA. We know a lot, man. A lot of people from Chicago go to LA. It's a lot of migrants there, Chicago migrants, excuse me, but it's not a lot of people that leave LA and come to Chicago, because there is a stereotype that's on this city, man. But we want to shine some light on that, man. The good people, man. These deep stories that we got, man. A lot of these, gentle men. They were raised in this concrete war, man. That we live in today, man. Here in this town that we call Chicago, and also this town that we call home. You know, I appreciate this place, man. It builds character. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. I really believe that. I see a lot of guys leave from here, man, and they go to all type of different places, man. I'd be shocked and surprised, but not really. But it still be like, like wow, because I'm that same type of person, and I think it might be in the water, man. I think it's in that Chicago water, man. Man, come here, man. You're
So,
gonna get an ear full, you're gonna get an eye full.
so what's so you say you were born in Los Angeles, raised in Chicago. You came in '89 when you was 5 years old. Do you remember those that? Did you have any experiences or remember anything when you were, you know, in '89 when you lived in Los Angeles? Do you remember it, or do you all you remember is strictly Chicago from on out?
Yeah, it's strictly Chicago, man. I ain't gonna lie. From '89 on, Chicago, man.
And
Chicago, man.
what was your your experiences like growing up in Chicago as a kid? Like, when you grammar school. Tell me about your grammar school era.
So when we first got here, we lived on the west side of Chicago. We lived right off of Pine and Washington. I went to a school by the name of Emmett. Uh, I went to Emmett probably whatever age you are, whatever grade you are in when you're 5 or 6 years old. You know what I'm saying?
10, 11.
But I went there for
I
about
mean,
a year and a half. Then we moved from the west side to the south side of Chicago. But in between that, just to backtrack one second, my grandfather, when we first moved here, he owned bakeries on the west side of Chicago, right off Madison, right off Lotus and Madison. Uh, he taught my brother how to bake cakes there. We lived like 2 blocks over. At this time, man, this is where I met my best friend at, man. On the west side of Chicago, man. Somebody who I hold dearly to my heart. We'll get off to that later. But I got the history on the west side, man. Then we moved out south. When we moved out south, we moved on over there on 82nd and Woodline. So we moved from the west side to 82nd and Woodline. When we lived on 82nd and Woodline, I went to a school by the name of Avalon Park. Uh, Lived over there for about I want to say roughly about 3, 4 years. My grandfather he owned a house over there that we all stayed in.
what was it like
You know,
growing up around Avalon Park?
man, man, it was something special, man. It's still a lot of cats that I always stayed in tune with, man. That being like a home for me. It was like my home for the South Side at that point. Because remember, I come from the West Side. You know what I'm saying? So it was dope, man. I met a lot of nice cats, man. One particular cat that stood out, man. One of my guys, man. We call him Short right now, man. Short was my man. We used to, I used to be trying to cut school and run up on the Short and them, man. And seeing them guys running around, man. Short had mopeds and they out all night, man. I'm trying to stay all night out all night with these cats, man. Man, these cats got to be 8, 9 years older than me, man. But they accepted me, man. They showed me a lot of love, man. I got a chance. I got an opportunity to be introduced, man, to I don't want to call them gangs because I don't like to call them gangs. Um, but they were more of a nation, Black Disciple Nation. So that was what was in that area, real tough. So I was introduced like Shelton. Them, they was Black Disciples. You know what I'm saying? It was a lot of man that was good friends. The Freemans, Eltis Brock, man, Jermaine, man, that was my man. He wanted the Freemans, man. His mother, man, Jeanette, man. I got a chance to meet these people, man, and these people were royalty within this nation, man, within this mob, man. It was so crazy, man, to see, man, even as a kid, man, some of the things that they were doing, some of the things that they had, it's past tense, man. That whole thing been broke up for a long time, man. But I guarantee you, man, when they was doing it, man.